Hey, Mark.
Hello, Steve.
How's it going?
Fine. How are you?
Doing good. Finally getting some nice weather.
Good. So while we're waiting, and the recording is on, but while we're waiting, the uh, the CDF Technical Oversight Committee update for each project, the draft pull request came out from oh dear, from how embarrassing, Andrea Fritoli,
Yep.
and I've submitted a pull request for the Jenkins project. I assume you or Tracy will submit for Ortelius, and I
Yeah.
assume Alan would probably submit a project update pull request for. Oh dear, Alan, help me out. Are you on Spinnaker?
No,
Shipper.
screwdriver.
Screwdriver.
Screwdriver. Okay,
That's
so
right.
you would submit the project update for the screwdriver project using Andrea's template that he sent. Did you get a link to his template?
Uh, I need to check, but I did remember. I did see an email from him from Andrea yesterday.
Okay, good. That's the thing that prompted mine. I sat down and tried to create my pull request so that he'll be able to give us a summary in June, and so that we've got it written rather than just using a presentation and a recording.
Yeah, screwdriver. We did PR last time.
Great. All right. Thank you. Yeah, and mine was sort of shameful last time. It was linked to the presentation. I like text that describes it is much better than just read the slides.
Well, better that you did something more than we did. So,
Okay, so there's improvement all around.
so yeah, we this will be our first one we got to do. I just got to get some time. I'm sure it doesn't take long. It's just doing it.
Great. So on the other news, I am pleased to be sending Bruno Verachten to the Open Source Summit in Vienna in September. So the CD Minutes mini summit that will happen there, that will be coordinated by Olivier Venant, will also have Bruno there to at least assist. So we've got two people we know of that will be there in Vienna. Now, I'm not sure if we have topics for today, and I'm a little worried that we're 3 minutes in and it's just the three of us.
Yeah, Tracy's jumping on here. She
Oh, okay.
is
All right.
just had to make another phone call real quick.
All right.
See, I speak and there she is.
Yeah. Also, my manager will be joining. Vonnie. Yeah.
Oh, great. Very good. Okay. And I don't remember seeing any notes from Andrea hinting that he might not be here, so I'm hoping that he's here.
Yeah, I didn't check the Slack channel. I'm never on Slack, so Slack is one of those corporate things that Deploy Hub doesn't do. We're not that corporate.
Understood.
Does CloudBees on Slack for the most
Yeah.
part? Yeah,
Yeah. It's Slack is deeply ingrained, and therefore,
you can't get away from work.
right, well, no, it's not on my phone, thankfully, so I can
Well,
get away
that's
from work by
smart.
simply walking away from the computer. But
Yeah. Well, I would say that Andrea is not showing up, and I think this is pretty much everybody that we have.
So I need to bring up the notes, then I could start sharing and we could drive it off of my screen.
That
But
works.
let me get the notes ready. Just a minute. Excuse me. And calendar,
I know I'm doing the same thing.
agenda. Here we go. All right. Today is May 21. We've got an agenda draft. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to just start sharing my screen and we'll use it. I'm actually going to stop the recording, start sharing my screen and restart the recording so that we have a recording that starts with the agenda visible.
That works.
All right, great. Okay, so May 21, here we go. All right, so sharing screen now. And the screen we're sharing is that one. Good. So you should all see my screen and it should show the CDF talk agenda, does it?
Yep.
Okay,
And
very good.
I do see the note from Andrea saying you can't make it today.
Okay, I missed that. Thanks.
I missed
That's
it
good.
too.
And it looks like I can't stop the recording, so we're just going to have to go with this. So welcome, everyone. This is the CDF Technical Oversight Committee. Today is the 21st of May. Key topics that please, on your own, mark those things where you're attending, and let's look at key topics. So action items, we had none open. Project updates as a topic, CD mini summit as a topic, and any other status updates. Are there any other topics that others want to be sure we add to the agenda today?
I have a thought. Excuse me. I have a thought. I'm curious to see how everybody use AI in their system, or even any ideas. Because recently I see AI very fascinating, open AI, and before I didn't take that seriously. Right? I just like Google search in a different way, right? Asking question. But now, after demo, it's like, they can listen and you can copy paste your code there. That was really eye-opening. I don't expect we do anything fancier like that. But I'm just curious from everybody's thoughts on the AI and how to maybe right potentially integrate it in your system.
Good. Okay, so let's put that as a closing topic there. We can at least survey the people who are here. Good. Any other topics that need to be added to the agenda? Okay, great. So then let's talk project updates first. So here is the reminder that in the June 18th meeting of the Technical Oversight Committee, there will be an update presented on project updates. We'd agreed in past meetings that once a quarter, we want to present a summary of project updates. And what we're doing is using pull requests to submit those project updates. So here's the one that Andrea submitted where he describes CD events update. As trying to be a good citizen, I've submitted Jenkins 2024, and you can see I had to make a number of embarrassing fixes to the thing. It's okay code, therefore it's easy to fix. And this is providing a status update for the Jenkins project. So what Andrea has proposed and what we agreed to previously is each project submits their own project update like that. Then we'll have a summary discussed June 18th. Does that work for everybody? So Alan, let's get your agreement. Will the screwdriver project submit?
Yes, and I also have my manager Vani here.
Great.
So if you
Thank
have
you,
the
Vani.
matter,
So thanks in advance, Vani, for allowing Alan to provide the screwdriver project summary.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm here. I'm an Alan. It's not manager or it's more like teammates. So
Great.
yeah. We'll be updating the TOC for screwdriver by June So the presentation is by June 18th, so it should be like prior to that, right?
Exactly. If you've got it done a week before or 2 weeks before, that's great.
Sure.
All
Yeah,
right.
We'll get it.
I'm gonna do the Ortelius one. I'm gonna get it done by the end of the week. So
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So, and Andrea had sent the reminder to other projects who are not here. We'll look forward to their updates as well. Any questions on that or any concerns? Okay,
Nope.
next topic then is the CD Mini Summit in Vienna in September. So associated with Open Source Summit in September in Vienna, there's also going to be the CD Mini Summit. Olivier Vernon of the, let's see, he's working currently on Rancher at SUSE will be, and he runs the update CLI project, will be coordinating this. Bruno Verachten will also be there. So we've got at least 2 people who are interesting to CDF who will be involved. If you're going to be in Vienna for Open Source Summit, which I believe concludes September 18, please plan to stay and participate in the CD Mini Summit. Any questions there? Call for proposals is open and ready to go.
Are any of you guys going to Vietnam? No, Vietnam.
I doubt that I'll go because Bruno reports to me at work, and so he's going as my representative. But I may send others because I have multiple teammates who are in Europe, and the travel costs from inside Europe to get to Vienna is relatively low. Getting from where I am in the continental US to Europe is not nearly as low cost.
I think we don't have budget to go there.
Right. Understood. All right. Thank you. Any other status updates that people want to share?
the only other status update is we asked Andrea to reach out to the governing board about CD events and the next steps that we're talking about with the Hero project.
Did I spell that correctly, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And I saw that, so I can confirm, Mark confirms that the request has been received, has been sent to the board because I am on the board and I saw the request. That doesn't mean I've acted on it yet, but I've seen the request.
Yeah, that was the first step to get the ball rolling.
Right. So Andrea has connected with, good, very good.
So what does the Hero project refer to?
So Tracy or Steve, you want to describe it?
Sure, I'll describe it. So right now, we are faced, when I say we, I want to say the collective big we, the DevOps community. We're faced with the need for adding a good amount of security tooling to the DevOps pipeline. So think about it as evolving the DevOps pipeline to a DevSecOps pipeline. But unfortunately, the reality is that we have, in order to do that, we would have to update many workflow files. And it may not be, it's not practical to expect that to happen anytime soon. And the security issue has to happen as soon as possible. CD Events has been part of the CD Foundation since its beginning. And its goal was to create an event-based CD process where you could easily add or subtract tools as needed without having to visit so many workflows. While the event standards have been well accepted, we've never built an actual message queue or a listener.
Yeah.
So the Hero project is twofold. One is creating an event listener that would allow, let's say, an event to happen at a published step.
Okay.
The second would be to start gathering the data. So while it's great to generate an SBOM, it doesn't really matter if you don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So the second step would be for Ortelius to start gathering the data and serving as the central evidence store of the security information attached to all of the DevOps information, because what that gives you is the ability to say, here's log4j and here's where it's running across all of our applications.
Okay.
So the HERO project is the effort mainly to get CD events off the ground beyond where it's at right now with its standards, and building having the community come together to build a message queue and a listener, basically. So that the Jenkins community, the shipwright community, the screwdriver community can start adding security tooling in a way that's non-invasive to all of the developers, and it's not going to disrupt the current pipelines that they're executing. It's just going to evolve them without their thinking much about it.
Mm, I see. Okay.
We're
So
going to need some heroes to pull this off, Bonnie. Let's just call it that.
yeah. Okay. Basically, we'll work on like the main priority right now is to build that message queue and the event listener. And then, I don't know in details about the CD events, but I read through it. It's like a pop-up system in
Right.
from what I gather. So you still need to have publisher, you still need to have consumers, right? What
Mhm.
a project is focusing right now is pulling people to build this intermediary layer to allow the message to like from the publisher
So
to
Bonnie, right now, we haven't dug into the architecture.
see.
And there needs to be a lot of work on the architecture, but there's no point in any of us spending time on the architecture if we don't have buy-in from the CD Foundation's governing board and from, their
Mm.
primary members. So at this point, the next step is we need to get the DC and Sasha in a room with the TOC so we can talk about it and make sure that the CDF's primary members are behind the project. And they don't feel like it is something that would disrupt their business value or cause them to leave the CD Foundation, because that's the last thing we want to do. We want to make this something that will bring more people to the table instead of excluding people. So I know that Harness has said that they are interested in participating. Apple has said that they are interested. We have reached out to NatWest as a potential end user customer. They're mulling it over and considering it. John McLeod used to be at the OpenSSF. He understands the problem. So we are working to build a coalition at this point of people who can be behind the project and get everybody's thumbs up before we start coding or designing architecture.
And in the overall big scheme of things, the message broker with the pub sub is actually the easy part. It is the hard part is on the producing side, producing these events, because a lot of these tools just don't track.
Right.
You have a shell script running in the middle of some workflow that's publishing an artifact, and there's no way to capture that event very easily. So that's going to be the more challenging side instead of the message broker side. And on the consuming side, Ortelius is already has the data store ready to start consuming all the data.
Okay. So I believe you will call out as well a participation. That sounds like you are calling out a participation from all of the members of the CDF, so includes Screwdriver as well.
Yes, it'll be not only folks that are in the CDF, all the members there. That's where we need to start, but also, like Tracy said, like NatWest. I don't think NatWest is a CDF member. I think they're an open SSF member. So this is going to cross foundations. Harness is over in the CNCF. Docker, who we've talked to, they're in the CNCF side. So it's going to span multiple Linux Foundation groups for participation.
We're hoping that is the goal, because the more we get, the better product we'll build.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to think, what do I need to talk to my, or should we wait for all of the members to say yes before I start talking to my management, or should I talk?
No, it's not about the members. It's really right now about the governing board. We just have to meet with a governing board.
I see.
Well, and even
Yeah.
that, I don't think stops you from discussing it with your sponsors, because it's still in the idea phase. The idea phase is a good time to discuss with them, because they'll probably need some time to think about what does this mean in their environment, how would they use it, how would they benefit from it.
Yeah.
They correctly will ask good hard business questions. How does this help us?
Right. Yeah, for sure. That's probably
Yeah. So yes, please evangelize as you see fit, and we will in the meantime make sure we get. Dedisi's on board. We just haven't had an opportunity to speak with Sasha.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for answering my question.
Right. Anything else on that status update? Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Steve. Okay, Alan, you had this question on the use of AI in our systems. You want to frame it a little further? Do you have more guidance that more questions you'd like to ask, or things you would like addressed?
No, I have some ideas, but I just like to know first, very general, do you use AI or do any analytics tooling? I have a interesting idea. Is I saw some demo with Databricks, and it's very interesting. They can integrate your database there. I also want to ask a question. Do you know how many builds your system run? Yeah, you could write some data queries, but for regular users, right? If I'm touching pipeline ABC, I like to know, I like to know, you know, I like to have some ideas about those pipeline I interact with. I don't know. I just throw an idea. I think those should be prompt-based, with, allowing user to ask those questions rather than ping a dev, hey, give me a query. What's going on? That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and that's part of the extension of the Hero project. Is a lot of that data that you're talking about is just left on the build machine and never added to databases. So you can't write or do any of the queries that you're referring to because there's no data to execute against. So with the CD events, being able to capture all of that information that's happening, then you have data to work against to do your questions and be able to push a question out. How many of my pipelines have implemented SBOMs? And with that, you'll be able to then get an answer back to, you got 50%. And then obviously the next extension is generative AI, where you could then actually generate the code for the workflows to implement the SBOMs, if you want to go that route, or just keep using CD events. Either way. There is a project out of Princeton that uses generative AI to do fix your code and create a pull request. I think it's called SMET. Let me double check.
Okay, I'll be delighted to see that work. All of my experiments with generative AI generating automated tests for existing code have been a failure, abject failure. So I was hoping it would help me by generating tests that sort of the mind-numbing tests, and wasn't terribly thrilled. Now, Alan, on the question about how the pipelines are running, I would have thought that is a question that Open Telemetry is already trying to answer without using any AI system to perform the queries. But I think the
Yeah.
thing you were
No,
highlighting is, oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
I can elaborate a little more. Like
Okay.
those ones, right? I give an example because that's easy to understand. Why? Because we interact, we know those terms, right?
Mhm.
And this is I'm finding something. I knew it's there, but that's step one. But that's not really interesting. Interesting is what about I have a huge database and tell me about what's going on with database rather than developer going there and find I how many doing some query with time span and how many builds were updated, right? That's something we could find, but I like to using some AI system tell me more about this database, what's going on.
Mm,
That's where I like to asking questions rather than construct queries. It's
got it.
from my perspective, and from my perspective as a admin perspective, and also there are some sub user, they might have different questions that I could think of, and we couldn't really just write queries. But I just like to I think Steve said the word I forgot. It's called generated AI, like to answer questions for us rather than we come up with they come up with some answers there, and we just need to ask the right question.
Now, part of me, okay, as an open source project, our pipeline execution data is certainly publicly available. But thinking about corporate entities, I'm not sure they will willingly disclose their private build information to a publicly hosted generative AI system. So that for me is what? So there's a data security thing that for the Jenkins project or for any other open source project that has open infrastructure, probably not an issue, but corporate data now means I've got to host that generative AI inside my own firewall on my own hardware.
Yeah, for me, even before that, I don't even know if we had some system to generate that. I like to have some
Okay.
guidance. How do we even do that?
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, in the Ortelius project, we've started using a little bit of machine learning to do. It's basically a similarity match between two text descriptions around CVEs, and that data is comes from the public, but we actually load it into our model for performance reasons. So it's one of those where in this situation, we're able to suck in data from external source and then act upon it locally. And that may be something what the corporations will need to do is to suck in data from their data sources and then pair it up with a secure AI model
Mm.
to be able to ask and query the questions. And then a lot of the, like in the case for our machine learning, we don't have access to we have access to the model, but we don't have access to the training data. So you get into these weird scenarios where if you want to tweak it, you can't because you don't have the training data because that's proprietary. So there's this whole new world of licensing of data. Who copyright ownership
Mhm.
of the data, and those things. it's going to be one of these, we're going to see a bunch of ethical issues come up. I mean, what was it? I heard this morning OpenAI was sued by Scarlett Johansson this morning because the OpenAI version 4, they've introduced instead of just typing, you can talk to the AI, OpenAI, and they said that the voice, like the Siri's voice, is too much like Scarlett Johansson, and so she's actually suing him.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
yeah.
So Alan, anything else, Steve? I've got a couple
No.
from the Jenkins project that I'm maybe answer your question, Alan, and maybe, or at least are part of an answer to your question. So Jenkins does have a GSOC 2024 project that is focused on AI. So it's got a GSOC student or a GSOC contributor and a lead mentor who are working it. It's focused on incorporating Jenkins domain-specific knowledge into a large language model. So I can put a link to that into the notes here so that it can be used. The other is we're using a machine learning tool. Okay, it's called Launchable, but what they do is they've got a machine learning system that we ship them the test results from our tests, and they then answer back to us on our request, which test should I run on this pull request to do a reasonable evaluation within this time limit. So what we say is something like, not spending more than 2 hours, tell me which tests to run. And they use machine learning to try to associate which tests have failed most recently, which tests might be more interesting. I confess I've not been terribly impressed with the total experience because it required a lot of work to set up. And while it's reduced our costs and not shown any unexpected failures, it's an awful lot of work to configure it, to ship the data to them, make sure all the parts and pieces work as expected. So in that sense, I guess we're using machine learning, but we're really doing it by relying on a product from Launchable. Launchable is a company that Kosuke Kawaguchi, the Jenkins founder, is involved in. So are there others who had items they wanted to share here in terms of answering Alan's question? What are some of the current uses of AI in existing CDF systems or in existing CDF environments? All right, so I guess I would ask another question. GitHub Copilot is certainly an AI development tool that I understand they've offered licenses to most open source projects or to some. So you might explore that. I haven't started using it yet. It offers coding suggestions to developers, and as I understand it, it is offered to at least some open source projects.
Yeah,
So,
we do get that.
oh, you do? Okay.
Like not on Screwdriver as an open source projects, but rather like the company start using that. So as a developer, we can utilize GitHub Copilot to allow us in day-to-day coding. So we kind of like cheat a little bit. We log in using our corporate account, but then we pull Screwdriver project and you know, like use the suggestion to do some coding as needed. So that's how we work around like between the external account versus the corporate account. So yeah.
And that makes
Pretty
sense
useful.
because you're easing your corporate coding responsibilities, even if that happens to be at that moment contributing to Screwdriver. Good. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Anyways, it's also used by Yahoo. So
Good.
so yeah, it's pretty, I think it's quite productivity improvement Especially for me, naming sometimes is very hard. Naming a variable is very hard at times. So they give you suggestion, and they look at your patterns of certain functions that you have already created, and then they will give you another suggestion, the next one that you create. So something like that is it's pretty cool, I think.
Great, thank you. Any others that want to offer answers to Alan's question? Any other topics to discuss today?
Just so everybody knows, the Ortelius community is doing their Secure Chain Con on Friday morning. We have Carolyn Wong as a keynote. We have folks from TestifySec, Cisco, trying to think of the folks. It's only a half a day, so we have basically a morning of badge recognition. Steve's going to do a workshop on OpenSSF scorecard, and then we'll have 5 presentations. So go to ortelius.io if you're interested in participating.
And it's all virtual, so we actually will be on Twitch later on after we do the Zoom meeting for the interactive piece. Even that will be broadcast out onto Twitch. That's part of it.
And that's this Friday.
Yep.
This Friday from 8:30 Mountain to about 12:30.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much. Any other topics? All right, thanks. We'll close the meeting for today. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you,
All
Mark,
right.
for taking over. You did great.
Bye-bye.
We'll see
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. See you.